talking about Star Wars on the internet is not something I ever really wanted to do. We all know that can be a minefield, and only the bravest souls should venture into those waters. But I'm going to do it. And the only reason I'm doing it is because it feels really good to talk about a post Disney piece of Star Wars media with so much positivity. And I feel like I have so many thoughts about The Mandalorian that I had to get them out and share them with you. And hopefully have a civil discussion about how great The Mandalorian is. I'm going to start with a rundown of what I thought of the episode, theorize a little bit about maybe what's going to happen next, and hopefully talk about the writing a little bit. This is supposed to be a writing-focused channel, and I never really intended to do reviews, and I don't really want this to be like a formal review. So let's get into it. First thing I noticed, nearly 55-minute runtime, A+. That's one thing I really didn't like about season 1 was the short episodes. And hopefully the runtimes continue to stay around. I'd be happy like 45 to 50 hour-long episodes. I really don't want to see any more 30-minute Mandalorian episodes. It's just not enough. That might be greedy on my part, but I'm not sorry. That's the way I feel. The opening, really cool. I love the urban setting. It really reminded me of Knights of the Old Republic, and it felt like a scene you would walk into in like the underworld in those games. The Gamorreans fighting with the vibro blades or the vibro steel axes, whatever those things are called. That was really cool. Gor Koresh, he was cool. He was like a little like ape, one-eyed Cyclops ape guy. I liked him. Oh yeah, the Mankind leap off the table by the Gamorrean when the fight starts. Oof. Gotta give credit. I wonder if they got Mankind to do that. Probably not. I love it was in the trailer, but I love the little Baby Yoda's reaction when Mando's about to unleash his the whistling birds, I think they're called, out of his gauntlet. One of my notes says Mando is a genie, and I think that's referring to how he kind of plays Gor Koresh and says, "You won't die by my hand." So it's like one of those like, oh, you got to be careful what you wish for things, because yeah, Gor Koresh does not die by the Mando's hand. I was a little hesitant about Tatooine again. I thought, oh, we're going back there. But that did mean we get to see Amy Sedaris again and those little stupid pit crew droids from the Phantom Menace. Which, I mean, I guess here they're kind of serving to show, to remind us of Mando's arc, where he's like, let the idiots work on the ship. Oh, and we get to see R5. I laughed at that. I like the little touch of like the carbon scoring on his, where his motivator blew. My note says R5 is motivated. I love Mando riding into Mos Pelgo on the speeder bike, just kind of slowly cruising in. All the townsfolk eyeing him up. Just very. I really love that they leaned into the Western aspect, and they didn't shy away from it. It reminded me of like Fistful of Dollars, or like even like Yojimbo. Like obviously like that's like the shared heritage of like Westerns, and Star Wars is the Kurosawa and those old samurai movies, so it makes sense that they would draw on all of those inspirations again. I love the live action Weequay bartender. Looked really cool. Like getting to see them actually talk in live action instead of just being background characters. I knew of Cobb Vanth from the Aftermath trilogy, so I was kind of expecting them to just like, I thought that was what the twist was gonna be. Oh, it's not Boba Fett, it's this guy in ill-fitting Mandalorian armor, which I also liked because like Mando looks so comfortable in his armor, like he belongs in it, and like Cobb just kind of looked like a little bit off, like you could tell it wasn't really made for him. Also, spotchka is the new blue milk, I guess. Maybe they're trying to make that happen. They used spotchka a lot in season 1, I think, at least twice, and now they're using it again here. Spotchka. And then, oh man, I did not know. I knew about Cobb Vanth, but I did not know that they had gotten Timothy Oliphant to play Cobb Vanth. And man, that man, he just, he, I could just literally just watch a full episode of him and Pedro Pascal going back and forth in a saloon with the one-liners. That whole scene, I loved it. It could have gone on for an hour. Oh, and then the Krayt Dragon blew through town. I accidentally spoiled that plot point because I went to the subreddit, the Star Wars subreddit, before I watched the episode and read the first comment and it said Krayt Dragon, and I quickly exited the screen because I didn't want any spoilers, but I got that one. Oh well. Poor Banthas. Yeah, the Banthas they have a rough time in this one. That poor Bantha he's trying to drink his water and he got eaten. That's life, I guess, sometimes, man. That's life in Mos Pelgo. That's life in the real world. I laughed at Baby Yoda hiding in the pot. I didn't know if that was like a chamber pot or if that was like one of the pots that, like, you know, you're spitting your like space chewing tobacco into, but I thought that was funny. I thought the pod racer turbine turned into a speeder bike was cool. I don't know if that's supposed to be Anakin's pod racer. I thought it was, but I don't think there's been confirmation on that. It does. That's one thing I liked about how they added even more world building to Tatooine in this episode, and one of those things was all the recycled parts that R5 and like the pod racer turned speeder bike. I think that's the kind of fan service that makes sense, especially in the context of Tatooine, where there's not a lot of industry, so there's lots of scavengers and things are reused. A lot of people on Twitter have been talking about how cool it was that the Tusken Raiders are given a actual personality and a character and a language, and we get to see these characters that have been with us for 40 years in a brand new light. And I just thought, wow, like, we're back on Tatooine. We're seeing a lot of the same stuff we've seen since the original trilogy, and yet they found a way to make it new, make it more interesting, and like give a bit more depth to the world. So kudos to them for that. I like the little I guess foreshadowing would be the term used when they talk about the Krayt Dragon living in an abandoned Sarlacc pit, and maybe that's getting us like, oh, maybe Sarlacc's gone. Where's Boba? Ooh, who knows? Where's Boba? I felt bad for the little Tusken that had to lead the Bantha up. Again, another Bantha, and like to be used as bait to draw the Krayt Dragon out. And like, do they just like send out like the new guy or somebody they don't really like to do it? It's like, yeah, like Joe, it's your turn to bring Bantha out to the Krayt Dragon. They lead him off, and they're all snickering behind him as he goes to a certain death to feed a giant lizard. If there isn't a comic book or novel that explains the internal politics of Tusken Raiders and goes into that selection process, I'm sure there will be soon. So during that planning session, after they see the Krayt Dragon, and they're signing to each other, and like they have like the little skeleton and the rocks, I was really hoping the plan was going to be for them to drop a giant rock on the Krayt Dragon's head. That might be because I just watched Jenny Nicholson's deep dive into Land Before Time, and that seems to be a really viable strategy for dealing with predators. I like the play on that typical like Western plot of like the town having to overcome their prejudice to like save the settlement. There is that kind of sad implication that peace won't be permanent, and that the townsfolk will be the ones to break it eventually. Good thing this is all space fantasy and there's no real world analog for that. Oh, and then I just wrote Bantha Caravan of Courage. Another note where I just love the score. I think the score in this whole series has been awesome. Ooh, and then Cobb drinks the water. Remember earlier when they're doing the plant, when they're going to scout out the Krayt Dragon and he won't drink the water? Well, here when they're back at the Krayt Dragon pit cave, he drinks the water. Character growth. So here's where my notes get a little bit more broad. I'm not good at judging action scenes. We're talking about them. This one is pretty good though. The little like, what did I like? I like the little like conk on the jetpack, Boba's jetpack to send it flying. I was kind of waiting for. It was kind of like it reminded me of like the Mudhorn fight from the first episode 1 of season 1, just on like a bigger scale. So I was waiting for Baby Yoda to do the magic hand thing. I was like, come on, do the magic hand thing, and he just never did. So I was just like, I felt like they could have gave Baby Yoda some agency in this episode, and it just wasn't there. But we did get like the space western version of Jonah and the whale, where Jonah blows up the whale. I'm always down for the hero gets swallowed by a giant monster and then destroys it from the inside. It worked really well in like Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Obviously Men in Black. I think Men in Black was the first time that was ever done. Don't correct me. And honestly, I kind of thought that was going to be the plan from the start, was just to have the Bantha strapped with a bunch of bombs and feed it to the Krayt Dragon, because they clearly don't give any about the Banthas in this episode. They just, there's Banthas to the slaughter the whole time. There's at least 3 Bantha deaths, I think. But yeah, hero getting swallowed and eaten and then bursting out from the inside. It's kind of like a metaphor for fighting capitalism from the inside, in that like that only works in a fantasy space western. I like that the Sand People pulled the pearl out of the Krayt Dragon. Again, another reference to Knights of the Old Republic and like other old EU materials. Oh, and then at the end, that's one thing I was not expecting. That last shot, you know the one. Tamira Morrison back, Boba's back, baby. I seriously thought that the Cobb Vanth Boba fake out was going to be it. I really wasn't expecting Boba to be in this episode at all. I wasn't really expecting real Boba to be back at all. I thought they were just going to leave him dead. I know like the old EU brought him back, but I'm glad they brought him back, and I hope he gets his armor back. That's my biggest hope. Well, I hope Baby Yoda finds a home and is happy, but I also hope Boba gets his armor back. Boba gets his groove back. But yeah, those are my like stream of consciousness notes for Mandalorian episode 1. This episode was probably as close to perfect as you can get for Star Wars. So yeah, it was kind of, we get to see Mando is now how he is now and how he's changed, and we're reminded of his arc, like I said before at the start, with how he treats the pit crew droids. We get hit with a lot of action right off the bat, and we're sucked into like another standalone Western story. And personally, I think you could almost do a whole movie on the dynamic between the Tuskens and like the people of Tatooine. There's a settler indigenous relationship going on there that would be really cool to explore in like a Star Wars context. Because again, it harkens back to old Westerns where that conversation isn't really had a lot in a lot of those old movies. The whole Tusken arc was really compelling, and I wasn't really expecting that. Like I said before, going back to Tatooine, I wasn't really expecting to see so much new information. And again, I just have to tip my hat to Favreau and the crew. And I did not look up who wrote this episode, because that would require me to put effort into this, and clearly I did not. Theory time. What do I think is going to happen next? Well, I think, based on the way that the previous season happened, we will see Boba again, possibly as early as the start of next episode 2. And in that episode, the Mando will get some information from him, perhaps in return for his armor. And that information will lead the Mandalorian to Bo-Katan. I can't really remember if there's any interaction between Bo-Katan and Boba Fett in the Clone Wars, but it seems like there's a through line there. And then obviously there's that tie between Bo-Katan and Ahsoka. So I think that's how the Mandalorian is gonna find Ahsoka, is from Boba to Bo-Katan to Ahsoka, and then we'll obviously all these characters are tied to the Darksaber. So we're gonna see. I'm sure we'll see the Mandalorian confronting Moff Gideon again, perhaps reclaiming the Darksaber for Bo-Katan, or Bo-Katan reclaiming it with the help of the Mandalorian. Yeah, maybe we'll get a whole resolution to this Boba and Jango weren't real Mandalorian things. And that's it for my theorizing for now. And yeah, like there's really not a whole lot to be critical of with this episode. The plot is a little like, linear. Go to A to B to C to D. There's no curveballs or anything. Which, it's Star Wars. So it's still thoroughly enjoyable, even with the simplistic or even like paint by numbers plot. And it is light on Baby Yoda, like I said before. That is something that I mean, I get it. You don't want to overplay your Baby Yoda hand, right? You want to keep Baby Yoda in the back pocket for the big moments. And yeah, that's it. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next. My expectations are high. I've made that mistake before with high expectations in Star Wars, but I think this time the team behind The Mandalorian can deliver on those expectations. And as the season goes on, I hope to get a little bit more analytical in dissecting the writing and the story. It's just like at this point, with one episode down, there's really not a whole lot of meat to dig into besides like the surface, because this episode really just felt like it just wanted to bring us back into the world of the Mandalorian and get us settled again and go from there. So that's what we'll do. I can't wait for Friday. I think the next there's so much they could do. I don't know. I'll see you next week.